Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's story. What if a simple meeting at the market could change two lives forever? What lies behind the quiet gestures of Alex, a man burdened with work yet carrying a heart full of tenderness? And how long can Tuna, a mother devoted to her child, resist the gentle care that keeps returning to her doorstep? Through moments of silence, unspoken glances, and the weight of choices between solitude and companionship, between past wounds and a new beginning, will Tuna finally open her heart? And when Alex kneels with a proposal born of patience and sincerity, how will she answer? Stay with us until the very end to discover how concern blossoms into fate, and how a quiet love story turns into a lifelong promise. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We're on the journey to reach 1,000 followers, and your support makes all the difference. Now, let's begin. The rain had returned, falling softly across the small courtyard like a curtain that blurred the edges of the world. Tuna stepped outside, broom in hand, sweeping the damp leaves that clung stubbornly to the ground. The sound of her broom blended with the rhythm of the drizzle, a quiet prelude to another day of labor. Inside, little Henry still slept soundly, his breath even, untouched by the weight of rain or the worries of life. She glanced back at him before pulling the scarf tighter around her shoulders. Life moved in repetitions for her, sweeping the yard, preparing clothes, rushing to the market. Each act was not just duty, but a rhythm of love, a way to hold her world together despite the storms. She lifted Henry gently, wrapping him in warmth, and whispered to him as if he could understand. "We'll go to Aunt Tang's house, then Mama will go to work." The village road was muddy, the puddles wide and stubborn. Tuna's steps slowed, careful not to slip. Yet her mind was already racing through the day's tasks: what to sell, what to buy, how to stretch each coin to cover both her child's needs and her own. The weight of life rested on her shoulders, but in her eyes lingered a quiet resilience, the kind that had learned to bend like bamboo in the storm. She left Henry in the trusted arms of Aunt Tang, pressing a soft kiss on his forehead before turning away. For a moment, she paused under the dripping eaves, watching the rain slide down in silver threads, and sighed. Each drop echoed her solitude, but also her strength. The morning deepened, and somewhere beyond the fields, Alex's voice carried through the static of a phone call. His tone was steady, professional, yet beneath it lay a thread of concern. Mr. Adam, a distant client, spoke with warm approval of the custard apples from the last shipment. The praise was genuine, the satisfaction clear, but it came paired with expectations: larger orders, earlier harvests, and more promises to keep. Alex listened, nodding though no one could see him, eyes wandering to the rain-streaked window. Outside, the sky was heavy, swollen with clouds that had lingered for days. The earth was too wet, the roads too soft. Trucks delayed, bamboo harvests stalled, and the wood supply diminished by the hour. He thanked Adam for his trust, reassured him with quiet confidence, yet, when the call ended, he let out a long breath. Responsibility pressed like the storm itself, unforgiving, constant, impossible to ignore. He moved between the factory and the fields, checking on machines, calling out instructions, gauging what could still be salvaged. Workers stood waiting for orders, their boots thick with mud. "If the sun comes tomorrow, we must move quickly," he said, his voice calm but urgent. He thought of shipments promised, of names like Miss Huai and Miss Trung, their orders stacking higher than the piles of wet timber at his feet. There was no room for hesitation. Yet even amidst the weight of business, Alex's heart carried a softer burden, one not written in contracts or invoices. Somewhere beneath the rain, a quiet thought stirred, unspoken but persistent. The market hummed with its usual symphony, voices haggling, footsteps splashing through puddles, the clatter of baskets shifting from hand to hand. Amid the chaos, Tuna wove quietly through the stalls, her eyes scanning rows of fabric and children's clothes. Each shirt she touched carried the weight of a question. Would it fit Henry? Would he be warm enough? And then, like fate folding the day upon itself, she heard a familiar voice. Turning, she found Alex standing a few stalls away, his hands occupied with small garments, his brows furrowed in uncertainty. For a heartbeat, the noise of the market fell away. Surprise softened into warmth, and they both smiled as if the world had been waiting for this moment. "You're buying clothes for Henry?" Alex asked gently, almost as though he already knew. Tuna nodded, her cheeks touched faintly with color. He admitted he didn't know how to choose well, then suggested they select together. The words were simple, but the gesture lingered, an invitation to share, to step briefly into each other's worlds. They held up tiny shirts, laughing quietly at their own indecision. "This one is lovely, but that one too," she murmured. Alex agreed, though his gaze lingered longer on her than on the fabric. In the end, he insisted on paying, brushing off her protests with a firm kindness that was neither boastful nor forced. As they left the stall, arms full of small bundles, the rain paused and a hush settled over the market. In that silence, a seed of something fragile and undeniable began to take root. The road home was slick, puddles glistening like broken mirrors under a gray sky. Alex carried the heavier bundles, his steps steady beside Tuna's. Henry slept peacefully in her arms, unaware of the world shifting gently around him. The rain drizzled again, thin and soft, yet Alex's presence made the path feel lighter, as though each drop found its rhythm in their silence. When they reached the small farmhouse, Alex insisted on opening the gate, his hand brushing briefly against hers as he took the key. Inside, the air was damp but welcoming, filled with the faint scent of wood and flowers long wilted. Tuna laid Henry down carefully, while Alex placed the bags aside, glancing around the modest space with quiet thoughtfulness. They sat across from each other, steam rising from the cups of water she poured. Conversation drifted, simple yet tender, about the flowers that once bloomed in the yard, now gone to waste, about repairs needed on the bathroom roof and the water floor. Alex listened, nodding, offering promises without grand gestures. "I'll come back, help you fix it." Words delivered not as favors but as natural extensions of his care. For a moment, it felt like time itself slowed, the house no longer heavy with solitude, but alive with shared presence. The rain tapped gently against the window, no longer cold, but rhythmic, as if applauding something quietly unfolding. Tuna lowered her gaze, her heart steady yet trembling, realizing how unfamiliar and precious this warmth had become. The room was hushed, the only sound the soft hum of rain against the roof. Alex reached into his pocket, his movements unhurried, deliberate, as though he was cradling more than an object. Something fragile, a gesture waiting to be unwrapped. "Close your eyes," he whispered, almost playful, yet his voice carried a depth that made Tuna hesitate before obeying. When she opened them again, a small hair tie rested in his palm. It was simple, a ribbon of soft color, yet in his eyes it shone like something far greater. "I thought of you when I saw this," Alex said, his tone gentle, almost uncertain. For a moment, Tuna was speechless. The gift was not grand, not expensive, but it held the weight of noticing, of seeing her not just as a mother, but as herself. She tied her hair back, awkwardly laughing, but Alex raised his phone, capturing the moment in a single photograph. "Wait, let your hair fall loose," he directed softly, his smile betraying both mischief and tenderness. She obeyed, shy yet curious, and the click of the camera sealed a fleeting instant into permanence. Looking at the photo together, they both fell silent. Tuna's heart quickened. The way he looked at her, through the lens, through his eyes, was different, steady, unspoken. She felt something stir, not sudden, but like rain seeping slowly into dry earth. She whispered almost to herself, "Thank you." Alex only smiled, as if gratitude was unnecessary, as if everything had already been said in silence. When Alex finally rose to leave, the room felt suddenly larger, emptier. He gathered his things with the same care he had shown all evening, pausing at the door to remind her softly, "Take care of your health. I'll come back when I can." His words lingered in the air long after his footsteps faded into the rain-soaked night. Tuna stood by the doorway, watching until his figure disappeared beyond the trees. The silence that followed was both comforting and unsettling. She closed the door, her hands trembling faintly as if holding on to something invisible. Inside, Henry stirred in his sleep, his tiny breaths a reminder of the life she carried forward each day. Yet tonight, her thoughts refused to settle on routine. She sat down quietly, letting the dim lamplight fall across the small ribbon in her hair. Her heart spoke in whispers she could no longer ignore. "Alex is careful, thoughtful, kind in ways I didn't expect. Why does my chest ache when I think of him?" Her voice broke only within her mind, a confession that had been building beneath every shared glance and every small kindness. The rain tapped steadily on the roof, as if urging her to admit what had already taken root. She pressed her hands together, almost as though in prayer, and allowed herself the smallest smile. One day, she promised herself, "When the time is right, I will answer him. I will no longer remain silent." Time passed, measured not by clocks, but by the quiet rhythm of seasons. The rain that once weighed heavy gave way to brighter skies, and with them, a certainty that grew within Tuna's heart. Every visit from Alex, every thoughtful gesture, deepened the bond between them. It was not passion that burned quickly and vanished. It was steady, like a river shaping stone, like sunlight returning after long storms. Henry grew, his laughter filling the once lonely farmhouse. Alex was there, not as a guest, but as someone whose presence had become natural, almost necessary. His hands repaired the broken roof, tended the soil, and carried the weight of burdens without complaint. His love was never declared in grand speeches, but in the silence of shared work, the ease of shared glances. One evening, as dusk painted the fields in soft gold, Alex finally asked the question his heart had carried for so long. His words were simple, without ceremony. "Will you marry me?" There was no audience, no music, only the cicadas in the trees and the quiet thrum of her pulse. Tuna looked at him, her hands trembling, and felt the years of solitude, the trials, the tender moments all gather in her chest. She nodded, her voice low but unwavering. "Yes, Alex." It was an answer born not of impulse, but of time, of trust, of love that had weathered rain and silence, a promise that what began as concern and companionship had blossomed into something lasting. And so, beneath the quiet sky, their story found its truth. Love built not in haste, but in patience, becomes a home.
Trong những ngày mưa triền miên, Tử Na, người mẹ đơn thân, tần tảo chăm sóc bé Henry, gửi con cho bà Tăng để đi chợ, xoay vòng trong nhịp sống giản dị và vất vả. Trong khi đó, Alex tất bật với công việc buôn bán và lo lắng nguồn hàng bị ảnh hưởng bởi mưa gió, nhưng vẫn giữ trong tìm sự quan tâm thầm lặng dành cho mẹ con Tử Na. Cuộc gặp gỡ tình cờ lại tại chợ trở thành mang đến cho cô hơi ấm và niềm rung động từ những lời hứa nhỏ bé, sự hiền dịu dàng. Alex trở thành chỗ dựa sau bao thời gian chần chừ. Tử Na cuối cùng cũng đã mỉm cười chấp nhận lời cầu hôn, khép lại cô đơn và mở ra hạnh phúc mới.